Hello there, you beautiful soul, and welcome back to another Culture Talk segment with your host, Rebecca Munoz of Cultured Society. I'm here yet with another special guest, and this one's really interesting because I've actually never had a physical interaction with him, but he's from Chicago, the city that I used to live in, and he is connected with quite a bit of people that I used to interact with when I lived in the city. So it seems like there's zero degrees of separation when it comes to humanity. Even though it seems like people are so different, we are all really a part of one body and we're constructed in a very similar manner. But yet we have all come to this planet to fulfill a very unique purpose that is specific for our own DNA code. And it's really great because although I'm asking the exact same questions, these conversations have unfolded so differently and they're in different parts of the world. And so our audience really gets to connect with these human beings just as though they're regular human beings living out their blueprint, their divine blueprint. And it's just a way to really connect, to resonate, and to understand that we are all just humans and we're all really trying to figure it out. We all have different life philosophies. We have different perspectives, especially depending on what parts of the world we're in. We're experiencing something completely different, but yet we can come together and have a collective conversation and really embrace each other, learn about each other, and extend love, compassion, grace, empathy, and everything in between. So with this, I introduced Ricky Evans, also known as F.A.B.L.E The Great. And he is originally from the Westside of Chicago. So Ricky Evans, also known as F.A.B.L.E The Great, is an artist, producer, singer, songwriter, designer, hailing from the Westside of Chicago, Illinois. His strong, passionate delivery and over cinematic soundscapes grabs your attention immediately and keeps you focused on every word. His music exudes many emotions and moods. His musical inspirations span from Daft Punk to Common and everything in between. His motive is clear: to leave a legacy that thrives long after he's gone. Join him on this journey as he strives to be immortal. And I am so honored and so grateful to have you here, Ricky. And do you have anything to say before we get started?
Yeah, first and foremost, I just want to thank you, Rebecca, for allowing me to be a part of this platform. And I'm humbled and I'm happy to be here.
Absolutely. Well, I'm so glad you're here. And I'm really grateful that we not only get to connect a completely different audience, because I'm sure your audience I have never interacted with. And this is just a really great opportunity for the people that know you and the people that don't know you to take a little dive deeper into who you are as an individual and as an artist. So I'm going to begin by asking you the very first question that I ask every single person that comes on this panel is, Ricky, what is your life's philosophy?
My life's philosophy is very weird, but I've kind of went through a bunch of like life altering things in the past 5 years. So my philosophy used to be just make sure everybody likes you and try to please everyone. But because of these last 5 years, this has drastically changed. My life's philosophy is to be you and be you unapologetically, and your flaws and your strengths. Before I used to try to just posture myself as being like a savior to people, or like just having like a messiah complex. Like, man, if people need help, I need to step in and do whatever I can to make sure that they're good. But while doing that and while chasing that, I was forgetting about the most important person in that equation, and that's me. So my life's philosophy now is to be unapologetic for who you are and to not be ashamed of who you are. And really just being your true authentic self. So that's my life philosophy now.
That is honestly, that is one of the best life philosophies that anyone can have, because although we are here to serve others, we cannot serve others from an empty vessel. And we
Yep.
need to be able to save ourselves, right? Connect to our creator, which is ultimately giving us the power, every single day to fulfill our own purpose. And with that, we inspire others to do the same. And that's really the greatest service that we can offer humanity. Now, you said that this has evolved over the last 5 years, but tell me, even prior to that, you being from the west side of Chicago and, you having a completely different experience, I'm sure, than me or a lot of other people, how has that philosophy evolved throughout your life?
Um, I would say like in my early childhood. So I grew up in the church, so I'm Christian. Um, and just growing up in the church, you're always taught to just be a servant. You know what I'm saying? It's all about servanthood. It's all about, caring for people who can't care for themselves. Just the philosophy of just caring for one another and caring for other people. Um, so just how I grew up, just understanding that like in church, it was like I was living in two worlds. So like it was the world at church, and then it was like the world on the west side of Chicago. It's two contradicting like
Mm.
things. So like the same way that I would, partake in communion on first Sunday, in the same breath when I would go to school, I see, you know, drugs and, violence like to the highest degree. So it was always like that dichotomy, with my younger life. My mom, I tip my hat off to her because the way that she raised me, she just allowed me to understand the world that we live in. Everything is not going to be squeaky clean. Everything is not going to go your way. So just based off seeing those two different extremes, it kind of helped mold me into who I am today. And those hardships and those things that I felt like I would never like get past or I wouldn't be able to deal with, I was able to deal with it. So it was like growing up in the city kind of like gave me that thick skin, but at the same time I still have, a heart, I still have, integrity. But, experiencing these different things, you kind of learn how to move in different circles in different areas, so it's made me like really versatile. So it's very easy for me to like, talk to people, like just kind of like how me and you started having a conversation. It comes second nature to me. But that has a lot to do with just my upbringing and how my mom like raised me to see the world outside of just my local scope, if that makes sense.
Yes, yes. And that's so good. And it's so crazy because you had mentioned, in one of our conversations through Instagram that you've never left Chicago, right?
No,
Have
no,
you
born and raised and still here.
born and raised still here? And what's interesting, because I had the opportunity to live in Chicago for quite a few years. So I got to experience different parts of the city, different dynamics, different cultures. And what's cool about Chicago is that oftentimes you don't even really have to leave to experience different parts of the world because it's so versed, it's so multicultural.
Hmm.
And so even though you haven't traveled, it's almost as though as that you have, because you get to
Right.
experience people from so many different parts of the world. And so with that being said, I know that you already kind of talked about how you grew up in the church and how that dynamic really, well, and just your mom, how she taught you and how she brought you up, really taught you how to interact with other people. But we choose our circle of influence, even though we
Hmm.
may say or disagree that we don't, but we are always influenced by the people that we choose to surround ourselves with. So, how has your upbringing and circle of influence impacted the way that you think and live today? And how has that changed throughout the years as well?
Um, yeah, so my circle growing up, I mean, the nucleus of all of that was my mom. My mom and my dad, they got divorced when I was really young. So I don't really have like the greatest relationship with my dad.
Okay.
I respect him and I love his position. I love him for his position in my life, but we don't really have a relationship like that. So the nucleus is my mom. Like my mom kind of like I honestly don't know how she did it. Like raising like a young like black boy like on the west side of Chicago, like in the thick of it. I wasn't like on the outskirts, like in the suburbs. Like I lived in Cape Town, I've lived in Austin, like I lived in Inglewood, like just some of the, some of the craziest neighborhoods. But she always kept me grounded and she always was protective over me. Um, but obviously, like as you grow up, as kids grow up, they start to, acquire friends or, just run into different people like as they mature in life. So, the older and older I got, the more and more and more I didn't want to be like by my mom. Like I wanted to like, be independent and be on my own. Um, so, like just taking public transportation by myself, like really like exploring, trying to figure out what it is I like, and what it is that I'm into. So I have a couple of friends that like I'm still friends with to this day, but they're like integral parts of my life. In high school, I met my homie Justin, and we're still friends to this day. Um, he's one of those pivotal people that I met that saw the world in an entirely different like perspective than me, and it rubbed me the wrong way because growing up, I'm around like-minded people, like they all kind of do the same thing and handle conflict the same way. So before I was very like passive aggressive, like nah, I don't really like confrontation like that. Meeting him, he kind of like just faced everything in life like head on, like religion, different ways of thinking. And he would always challenge me. Like, he would hear me talk about stuff. He was like, man, like, is that how you feel though? And that was the first time like in my life I was challenged, like, man, like, am I reciting somebody else's playwright or am I really being me? And over the years, like our relationship has just transformed and blossomed. So it started off, we connected through music. But when I was at my first day actually going to, the high school that I was at the time, ACT charter school, I was on the Madison bus and he had saw me and I saw him. And then we actually ended up in the same like homeroom. So from there, we instantly like clicked, and literally from day one, it started off with cracking jokes and it just turned into like a brotherhood. So like that's like one of my best friends. And then earlier than that, I got a friend named Morgan, um, who I met in church, but we just kind of like clicked, and it was almost like he was like my brother. I'm an only child, so I don't know what it's like to like have siblings. So he was like the first brother, quote unquote, that I had. And it's the same thing like with him. Me and him have two different ways of like two different outlooks on life, and just seeing the way that he handled life, it kind of influenced me and a lot of the things that I do. And he's a father as well, so he has been one of the examples that I've looked at. Even though he's my peer, I look up to my peers. You know what I'm saying? So those two relationships were like really really like important just for my early like upbringing. Like when you're a teenager, that's when you really like start to find out who you are. So like in high school, I thought I knew who I was, but I had no clue.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah, those two people, they were like really pivotal in like me coming into my own, if you will.
Are they this from the same culture?
Oh yeah, yeah,
There. So
yeah.
are you, well, you're in the music industry and I'm sure that you inspire so many different types of cultures because a lot of people are drawn to rap, hip hop, beats, producing, and all that. I mean, it's a blend of cultures that are influenced by this type of music. So, do you tend to surround yourself with a multicultural type of like group of people, or do you tend to stay within your culture of people that you?
Um, no, I have like a vast array of friends from like different walks of life, and then me myself, I'm into different cultures. So like a couple of years ago, my wife, she gifted me with a trip to Tokyo for my 30th birthday, and Tokyo, I'm I'm like obsessed with like Japanese culture, and I love like anime. Like I love it. So she gifted me with that trip on my 30th birthday. And that trip like completely changed my life. I had 10 days like in Tokyo. We stayed in Shibuya and it was amazing. Everything from architecture to fashion, which is what I'm another thing I'm into too. Just tech, everything. Like it completely like blew my mind.
Uh-huh.
And that's actually the first place that I've gone to outside of the country. So it was mind blowing. So just from that experience, like, and just the different things that I was into growing up, like I loved alternative rock when I was growing up. I loved anime. You know, I actually love like smooth jazz. So it's like I could listen to Kenny G and then listen to Mobb Deep and then listen to, you know, Daft Punk or Jamiroquai, which is one of my favorite groups like ever. So yeah, like just me being young, I've always gravitated toward things that are kind of like outside of the norm of
Yes.
what I should be into because I'm from the inner city. I'm from the west side of Chicago. It's like, man, what do you know about Pearl Jam? You know what I'm saying? So it's stuff like that that kind of like, you know, I'm still like that to this day. I'm whatever interests me. I'm. It's all about like how something makes me feel. It's
Yeah.
not so much of I'm not really into gimmicks, if you will. You know what I'm saying? So no matter what medium it is, art, music, whatever it is, if I'm moved by it, I'm moved by it. So
And that's the way that it should be. And I love that you said that you are drawn to a lot of different types of mediums because there's so much in this world and travel really exposes you to that. I mean, you're fortunate that you live in a place like Chicago and that although that you grew up in the west side of Chicago, that you were able to migrate to different parts of the city and to experience, you know, what that big melting pot of a city has to offer because you know, there are people from so many different parts of the world. There's different pockets of the city where you even like walk into that neighborhood and you feel like you've just visited a different country. But
absolutely.
there's something about going, like traveling to another country where you're immersed by that specific culture. And it's so cool because Japanese culture is so influenced by so many different types of cultures too.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're learning so much by just putting yourself in those spaces where, you know, people have different philosophies, different experiences, different ways of thinking and living and exposing themselves. It's so important. It's so important. And music is such a, and that's how we connected. I really appreciated the work that you're putting out. It's dope. And I love that it is so influenced by such a diverse genre of music. With that, do you believe that your line of work in artistry infects, and I like to use the word infects because there are a lot of artists that are doing a lot of dark music and there's a lot of infection of dis-ease in our society, especially after what happened last year. There's a lot of
Absolutely.
separation and segregation within our own cultures even. So how does your work infect our society with positivity?
Um, so I do want to say, just even before I get into that, like that darkness and that chaos, I definitely feel it. You know what I'm saying? Being just a black man in America, everything going on with police brutality, you know, them storming the Capitol like earlier this year. It's just a bunch of craziness going on. And it's a lot of uncertainty when I put on my clothes and I leave, you know, the house in the morning, you know what I'm saying? And I don't know whether I'm gonna make it back or not. You know what I'm saying? Like that's a serious thing. And those things like shouldn't be taken lightly. But that in and of itself, with what I feel, is the reason why I feel like it's my duty to put positive energy back into the universe, back into the atmosphere. Um, and that's not to say that those dark and chaotic things encourage, can't encourage something positive to come out. So you can still feel that frustration, but it's, you know, emotions are neutral. It's all about what you do with it. How do you act on those emotions that you feel? And for me, instead of me going out and, you know, just wreaking havoc and, you know, breaking windows and, you know, looting and everything. And I'm not knocking anybody that has done that because different people deal with just, you know, chaos in different ways. And I can't judge anybody, because I have my ways as well. But instead of me using my energy to do that to cause harm, I just feel like it's my duty to use that energy to create art, create bodies of work, create something on a visual medium, so where when people see it, they're like, man, okay, that's giving me hope. One of the things that I had to realize is that, going back to the first point of like being a people pleaser, it's like when you pleasing other people, you're negating your personal calling that you're supposed to be thriving and moving in. So you have to think about it. It might be extreme, but you have to think about it like this. If if I'm not where I'm supposed to be, creating art, putting things out, giving off this positive energy, if I'm not where I'm supposed to be, somebody else's destiny is attached to me being where I'm supposed to be at this moment. You know what I'm saying? So when you really think about it like that, it encourages you to, number one, do the work that you need to do within you. It has nothing to do with anybody else. A lot of the times we want to blame other people for where we are in our lives. It's nobody else's like fault. It's nobody else's work to do. You have to do the work on yourself first. Once you do the work on yourself, then you can move and do what you need to do and really walk in your purpose, walking your calling. So that's why I said the last 5 years have really been like crazy for me, because everything in my life has been uncomfortable. And it's been uncomfortable because I ignored the work that I needed to do on myself, mentally, spiritually. You know what I'm saying? So it's like once I confronted those things, it's like, all right, let's get to work. You know what I'm saying? Let's get our hands dirty now. So, my the biggest thing, like for me, especially in my music career, like I haven't put out enough stuff. It's always, I've always made excuses as to why I haven't put things out, or put music out, or just been creative. It's like you can't allow life to get in the way of who you naturally are. So I have a duty, and my duty is to be in a position that I'm supposed to be in, so that when I cross paths with people like yourself, when I cross paths with people, with other creatives and other people who have either been where I was a couple of years ago or they're going through it right now, I have to be able to like give them something so that they could take it, so that they're inspired and that they're forced to deal with that work that they have to do on themselves, and then they can go be who they're supposed to be. So everybody is connected. It's like what you said earlier. Like if I hadn't came through your inbox and said, hey, I really liked the interview, and we didn't have that discourse, we wouldn't be here right now. So, never hesitate if you feel led, like in the spirit, to reach out to someone, just do it. You don't have anything to lose. And that's just how I'm moving with my life now. It's like, man, it's not much to lose. Like, it's really all it is gain. You have the opportunity to gain something. So this discourse is important. You know what I'm saying? This transference of energy is important.
Oh
So
man, there's so much nuggets of wisdom in that statement that you just made, and all of it, really. And I'm so glad that you said it, because it is so important for us to take responsibility for our own lives.
mm-hmm,
And it's interesting that you said that it happened 5 years ago. You're 34 now. And typically it's around 28, 29 when people really start to shift.
mm-hmm.
Was there a specific experience that you had that really clicked for you, where you're like, okay, I really need to make some changes?
Yeah, I won't get into too much detail. It was just some personal things that I needed to question as far as my integrity within myself. Um, and I feel like the main thing that I needed to do is, so this is the thing. You look at your past to figure out where your shortcomings are. You
Mm,
don't look at your past to have it be a burden
right.
from you moving forward. So with me coming to that realization, there's a lot of things that happened in my childhood that they stem from, my lack of a relationship with my father, even like my relationship with my mom, just with my family. There's a lot of things that I really had to look at to fully understand why I reacted in the ways that I reacted to certain things. Why is it that you don't want to confront anything? Why is it that you try to run and hide when the person that is hurting you is you? So it's like, you know, Lupe, he has this line, it's like, man, my greatest enemy is my inner me. And it's one of those lines that is stuck with me, like, just all my life. It's like, man, like, it's sometimes your greatest enemy is not the person outside. Sometimes your greatest enemy is the person that you look at in the mirror every morning. And I had to realize, like, I'm hurting myself. And when I hurt myself, I hurt my family, I hurt my mom, I hurt my friends, I hurt my circle. You know what I'm saying? It's like, man, like if I'm looking at myself and I know that I'm the weakest link, like, so the greatest thing that you could ever do is fall. But when you fall on your back, the only way for you to look is up. There's no other way to look.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So gratefully, I was able to fall on my back and not fall on my stomach and on my face, you know? So it's like, all right, I'm at the very bottom. Like, there's nothing for me to do right now, but just, man, stack these bricks and figure out how I'm gonna get out of here. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you know, I tell everybody, like, life is a journey. Life has a bunch of mountaintop experiences, but it has even more low valley moments. You know what I'm saying? And it's really just about paying attention to the people that are giving you truth around you. Like, and I credit my wife for that. Like, she's helped me kind of see things within myself that I didn't necessarily see. But that's because it's that difference. Like, I'm passive aggressive. She's like, nah, I'm gonna attack the situation head on. So she's kind of like helped me navigate through myself. You know what I'm saying? And you know, you think that you're good when you're really not good. And sometimes it takes an outside person to come and evaluate you outside of you to let you know, like, yeah, you might feel like you're okay, but these different things you should really like seriously look at because they're affecting decisions that you make now. So that's really what happened. Like, I had to be real with myself and come to grips with my reality and do the work that I needed to do to fix it. Everything's not squeaky clean right now, but I'm just in a better mind frame of, you know what, when a problem comes or if someone's giving me constructive criticism, don't be so quick to be annoyed or to be offended. Listen. Like, that's the biggest thing. Listen. So it's like how people go into situations and they say that, you know, my gut was telling me this. That's not your gut, that's your spirit. We all have that discernment. We have that little thing in us. When something's not right, it's like, fam, this is not right. Something needs to happen. But a lot of the times we just ignore it because we're so pompous and we're so self-centered and we're so cocky. We think that the world revolves around us. It's like, nah, you're playing a position in this world. And once you understand the position that you play and you move in that, those doors will start to open. Those hardships that you once had, they won't be hardships anymore. It'll be kind of second nature. You already know how to respond to it. So with me, it was just correcting my automatic responses to life and just figuring out what's at the root of why I'm making the decisions that I'm making, why I'm saying things that I'm saying. And a lot of the words that I was saying were destroying me instead of me uplifting myself, building myself up, and forgiving myself. Man, you're human. You're not perfect. Perfection does not exist at all. What does exist is tangible, like just pure motives, integrity. That stuff matters. Perfection does not exist. So once I figured that out, it's like a lot of stuff in my life just started like changing. So here we are now. So
that is so good. That is so good. And you know, oftentimes we don't recognize that we're putting curses on our own life by just speaking death. And there's a scripture in the Bible that says life and death is in the power of the tongue, and those who love it will eat its fruit. And so it's
so real.
Yeah, that when we are speaking and even thinking, because thoughts manifest as well. And so the thoughts that we're planting, right, they become fruit, and they could become diseased fruit if we don't put the positive. And it's not just about positive thinking, it's really about intentional thinking
Mm-hmm.
and being conscious in what we're creating, because all of us are conscious creators. Majority of people don't recognize that they are, so they're just unconsciously moving through life and taking their life experiences and excuses to throw their life away. But when you recognize that life is a journey, and that before we even came to this planet, we signed a contract. We signed a soul contract, and we actually positioned every single adversity and challenge and obstacle in our life in order for us to be able to face ourselves. And, even having this conversation, I like to say that every single person that comes into our experience is a mirror of where we've been, where we are, and where we're going. And so
Absolutely.
it's so important that we're consciously even looking at our environment as ways as for us to just grow all the time. And that when we are getting constructive criticism, and even criticism that doesn't feel good, like just like you said, that it's an opportunity for us to look within, to self-assess, to self-correct, and to self-master, because
Mm-hmm.
there's so many areas of our life that we need to master, and that is a journey in itself. So I'm so
Mm-hmm.
glad that you said all of the things that you said, because it's all so true. How do you believe that you stay relevant, unique, and true to who you are as a person, especially in this industry where there's a lot of people who are trying to do music, right? Who are trying to do art? How do you stay relevant and true to yourself?
Um, it's funny because when I was younger, just when I started out producing and I started out rapping, like I wasn't I wasn't myself. I think I was doing what I thought people wanted to hear.
Mhm.
So like I found myself trying to mimic a lot of my influences. And some of my influences are like, Pharrell, Kanye West, Lupe Fiasco, Twista. I'm just speaking like in the hip hop like
Sure.
realm. I've been from the West Side, Do or Die, Crucial Conflict, like that type of thing. So everything that I was doing, I was trying to mimic that. I was just trying to kill you with similes and metaphors, and you know what I'm saying? Like technically it sounded good, but that soul was missing. Like I wasn't in the mix of that. You know what I'm saying? So um just over time, I just realized like, you know, there's only one of you in the entire like world. There's only one. So if I'm spending my time trying to be somebody else, it's like the things that I'm doing, it's not gonna resonate as well as if I'm really being myself. So
Sure.
like and I mean being myself in every sense of the word. Like, the way that I converse with people, like my slang, like my terms that I come up with. Like I know, when you went on my IG page, like my alias is Young Yahweh. And so a lot of people, they're like, man, what is that? Or they think like I'm trying to like call myself God, and it's not that. It's like if I'm made in God's image, then I'm the younger version of that.
Yes.
So when I say Young Yahweh, or if I call somebody my Yahweh, instead of calling somebody, you know, just using this for as an example, like instead of calling somebody like my nigga,
Yes.
I'll call them my Yahweh, and I'm trying to like be better about that because it's speaking to the God in each and every last one of us. So that's what the entire thing is. It's just those little things that make you you. Like I'm a very humorous person. I love to crack jokes and stuff like that. And cracking those jokes, like it broke a lot of like barriers between like some of the friends that I have, now, like, and I have long lasting friends. But we all connected either through music or through humor. You know what I'm saying? So it's, just me seeing over time, like, man, I'm actually a lot more effective when I'm me, when I'm myself. So let me find a way to take the things that I have within me and just present it to the people. So that was the reason for me creating Infinite Power. But Infinite Power, it's a it's a brand. It's more than just clothing. Like, it's a lifestyle brand. But at the same time, the meaning of Infinite Power is tied right back to God. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's the ultimate source of all power. So it's like, let me put my take on it. I love streetwear. Like, that's like my thing. You know what I'm saying? And everybody that knows me, they know that I love fashion like a lot. So it's like, man, how can I put my twist on it to create something that's unique that I can give to the people? So like this shirt right here, for example, this is the Infinite Power to the People shirt. And I made this to commemorate Juneteenth last year, especially with everything that was going on, just the social unrest like in the country. So me being Black, it's like, man, like I realized like I need to grasp a hold of my Blackness and be unapologetic about it. So I just took my dragon symbol and I put it over the Pan African flag. You know what I'm saying? And just made this a statement like, hey, I'm proud of who I am in the midst of, us being attacked and them trying to take us off of the face of the earth. Like, we won't go anywhere. Like, our people are strong, our people are powerful, our people are creators, some of the original creators of this world that we live in. You know what I'm saying? So it's just, those different things, just figuring out how to mold it so that it's presented to the people. And what better way to present ideas to people than through the medium of clothing and music?
Yes.
So those are like the main parts of it. But I'm challenging myself to get better, visually. Like I just co-directed like my first video. One of my other homies, Jamal Science, who's a dear friend of mine too, called Songs from the Gun. And this is my first time actually like editing my own video. So it's like, just with quarantine and the pandemic, like it's just been forcing me to really acquire more things, the self-mastery. Like, how do you know that you can't do something if you don't try to do it? So it's
Exactly.
like, no matter how the end result comes out, you have to ask yourself, were your intentions pure when you were making this art? And if it
Mhm.
was, who cares about technicalities? Now, I'm not saying don't challenge yourself to be better at whatever medium you do. This is my first go round. So obviously there's a lot of things that I want to fix and make better. But the end result, did it give you that emotion? Did you feel something when you saw the visual? And a lot of people, I shot it on my iPhone.
Nice.
I don't have like a professional camera. So I'm like, I'm just gonna make it work with what I have. And everybody that let see the video, they were like, wow, like this is actually impressive. Like, what did you use? It's like, I used the iMovie. I didn't use anything like, crazy. But when you're a true creator, like no matter what you have, man, if you have scraps, you're gonna figure out how to make filet mignon. Like, that's just what it is. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's really like what it is. It's like, once I settled into myself, it's easier for me to get my ideas out. It doesn't take as long because I'm not trying to chase something. It's like, hey, this is me. Here you go. This is the medium that I'm giving it to you in. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, it's fine. Sometimes people just have to catch up later, and that's cool.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you know what? It's so important for us to get to the core of who we are and to be comfortable in our own skin, because that gives us the ability to really tune in to what God is speaking through us, right? And that's that gut intuition. I like to, because our gut is our second brain, right? So if something is not right here, it's usually because we do have to do something different and we think that it's just indigestion, but it's
Right.
not. It really is our inner guidance telling us, you know what, you need to turn right here because this turn that you took, not the right one, and it just doesn't resonate, it doesn't feel right. And when you're actually like flowing in your own giftings, it just happens naturally in the way that you see things, even if you are using a phone. I've taken the best photos, that I have in with my phone, and people think that I have like the best whatever, and it's like, no, it's me, it's my eye. I'm not really thinking about what anybody else is doing. I'm really just doing what I see, what I feel, and that's how I'm creating. It has nothing to do with like I find inspiration, and this is why I talk to so many people, because it's really cool to have conversations with people that are actually operating that way. And it just
Absolutely.
makes for a better experience. It makes for a better world, right? Like we have more humans that are peaceful inside because they're doing what they're supposed to be doing and they're not creating more chaos. And I believe that the creation of our world is what's in the vicinity of our energetic space. So we have
Exactly.
ultimate control of what our world looks like. And so I'm so glad you said that. Tell me, how did you come up with your name, F.A.B.L.E The Great? Where'd that come from?
Um, so yeah, my name F.A.B.L.E, I actually came up with that in high school. So I graduated high school in 2005. So I came up with that name around like 2003, 2004. And I was heavily influenced by like backpack hip hop, so like Ruckus Records, To Live Quality, Most Def, like that whole period, Lyricist Lounge. So like I wanted my name to be just have like backpacker roots. So it literally means fully able-bodied and living eccentric. So that's what F.A.B.L.E means. And I've been trying to. It's funny that that's my name because it's like now I'm kind of fully coming into the full circle moment where I'm actually living like that now. You know what I'm saying? Because I wasn't utilizing everything within me to do what I needed to do to get my ideas out. But I felt like that name was kind of like calling me higher, if you will, not to be overly spiritual, but I just feel like it's like, life and death is in the power of the tongue. So it's like, let me name myself this and let me try to mimic this as much as I can until I finally started moving in it. So that's what F.A.B.L.E means.
Say
It's
it again.
super backpack, but
Say it again. Say what that means again.
fully able-bodied and living eccentric. So F.A.B.L.E. Yeah.
That is amazing. And I don't think that you're actually going into too much spirituality because I think that there's a misconception in our society of what spirituality is. We are
Mm-hmm.
spiritual beings living a human experience. So you can't escape spirituality. That's what we are. And so
That's a fact.
it's so important for us to have these conversations because oftentimes people are not aligned with their spirituality and they're not aligned with their higher purpose. So with that being said, do you believe that the work that you do every day is aligned with your calling and higher purpose?
Yeah, that's a loaded question though. So this is the thing. I feel like in order for you to be strong, you have to be weak.
Mhm.
So it's almost like for me to have the confidence that I have now, I had to be super insecure. You know what I'm saying? So it's like yes, the work that I'm doing, it ultimately is helping me get to that goal because life is not easy and life isn't perfect. Like I fall short every single day. You know what I'm saying? So it's like through those faults, through those hardships, through that pain, it helps me fuel the art and the things that I'm putting out now that I'm choosing to be, positive in the speaking of people's lives and doing it without being corny. Because I feel like a lot of people set out to like be positive and to do things to like just bring reverence to just good energy and it just doesn't come across well. Like
Sure.
it comes across forced and I never want to come across forced. But I feel like when you're really in tune with yourself and once again what your strengths and what your weaknesses are, you'll do things to kind of like show those strengths. You know what I'm saying? But in showing those strengths, still being vulnerable, like in that moment. So it's like the most powerful people are the most vulnerable people that you probably ever meet in life. So that's what that duality is. That's what that dichotomy is because it helps create who you are as a person. Nobody's 1,000% good. Nobody's 1,000% bad. It's a whole bunch of mixture and a bunch of gray matter that's just put together. You know what I'm saying? And you're just forced to really know, to really learn how to project that and how to bring it across in the most authentic and honest way. You know.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. And I'm so glad you said that because there is so much contrast, and it's really important for us to understand the difference between even heaven and hell, right? Like that really is
Mm-hmm.
a destination that we go to in our mind every single day. And when we recognize that it's important to have contrast, you'll understand, when you have had your lows and then you recognize that there's no much further that you can go, right, than the pits of hell, in order to really change your perspective and go on up. And because you have experienced the depths of hell, there's really nothing at that point that can really like pierce you, right? I like to say that
Right.
I'm bulletproof because of everything that I've been through. I mean, I've been through some chaotic times in my life, but that's what really shifted me in order for me to look at the higher perspective and to realize that life is a never ending evolution and that we're never going to fully arrive. Because when we do get to a specific goal or a destination, there's always like, okay, I met that goal. How much more can I do now?
It's the never ending story. And people got to understand, like, when you're faced with hardships, when you're faced with chaos, it's going to do one or two things. It's either going to make you or it's going to break you.
Yes.
And I'm just so thankful that I haven't been broken by the stuff that I've been through. So
that's so good, Nikki. I'm so glad that you said that. I'm so glad that you said that, because oftentimes, and you see it in your culture, I see it in my culture, that we use it as an excuse, you know what I mean, for us to continue down that rabbit hole of like negativity, or my ancestry didn't prosper, so I'm not going to prosper. No, we have the ability to break the chains of bondage every single day. And you, as an only child, you have the ability to really change the trajectory of your entire family history, especially now with you having children, because like you said earlier, you didn't have a relationship with your father, but now you have gained that responsibility to be better, you know what I mean, and to change that narrative, because every single one of us has the ability to do that. And that's so important. That's such an important lesson to learn and to implement.
Real quick, to reference another line, is Kanye West line: "Everything I'm not made me everything I am." So like me not having that relationship that I want to have with my dad, I love my dad deeply, and wherever he is, I just pray God keep him. But it just is what it is. You know what I'm saying? But because I didn't have that, my kids are never gonna have to go through what I went through. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm making that commitment, not just to them, but to myself. Like,
Yeah.
I want to allow myself to get to that point to where my kids don't know who their father is. You know what I'm saying? And my kids don't know that they can come to me and talk to me about like the most darkest things that they feeling or that they're going through without judgment. You know what I'm saying? Because I've been there and I know what that feels like. And I know what it feels like, and I always have somebody to talk to, So yeah, whatever you didn't have growing up, it makes you more of that. So
it does. It makes you more aware of yourself, and
mm-hmm.
it really, allows you to treat people better, because you understand that it's not a very good feeling to not be understood. It's not a good feeling to be hated on for the color of your skin or for what you look like or what you do for a living. Those experiences, and I speak for myself, that the experiences that I've had have really allowed me to become so much more self-aware and in tune, that I am now, aspiring to have better relationships with people, because at the end of the day, everybody just wants to connect. Everybody wants to be heard. Everybody wants to be seen and understood and really acknowledged for what it is that they're here to do. And we're here to help guide people to do that if they're not on that path. So that's a beautiful thing. What practices do you implement in your daily life to stay grounded and connected to your creator?
Well, now, I try not to use like the typical like church jargon, like when I pray. You know what I'm saying? Like, my prayers are like very real. Like, man, I don't want to go into work today. Like, I'm not feeling it. Like, I'm not feeling myself. I'm disgusted with myself. Man, just help me. You know what I'm saying? Just give me the strength that I need to keep going. Thank you for forgiving me. Thank you for giving me new grace and new mercy every day. Like, it's a very like real, like down to earth thing with me. It's not, it used to be, oh, holy omnipotent Father, it used to be all of that. But it's like, is my heart really in that? You know what I'm saying? So my prayers and my thankfulness and my gratefulness, it's a lot more practical and it's a lot more down to earth. Um, like right now, like, man, we got COVID going on outside. Like, it's crazy right now. But I'm thankful because I got two eyes that I can see. Like, I have access, I can use my limbs. You know what I'm saying? I just think about like the smallest, most just minute things to be thankful for. That keeps me grounded. You know what I'm saying? Because it could all be taken away from me tomorrow. So instead of me complaining about what I don't have, I give thanks for the small things that I do have. You know what I'm saying? Like something like my car, being able to just eat on my own. Like that's what keeps me grounded, and that's what just keeps me moving forward, because I know that it's like you said, if I play my position and my family, they see me persevering through the hardest, times, it's gonna influence them to persevere. So when my kids get older, they won't easily be knocked off of that square because something's not going the way that they want it to go. You know what I'm saying? So it's just really about being an example, not being perfect, but being an example of what it's like to face a problem, face hardship, and really go through it. I want them to see the entire process. Everything ain't pretty. It's a lot of ugly out here, but you just have to be committed and be persistent and get through it. That's really all it is. So
That's so good. That is really good. And I like to say that gratitude is a magnet for miracles, and that you
mhm.
recognize that we really, at the end of the day, don't need anything. The fact that we're breathing alone, we get to wake up with breath alone, that's abundance in itself. And
Mhm.
that we have the abilities to do what you just said, to see, right? To use our hands, to walk, to create, to consciously create, right? And to recognize that God has given us the abilities to do what it is that we need to do on this earth. And that if we're not doing that, then what's the point?
Right.
What's the point?
Absolutely.
What's the point, right? So what words of wisdom would you give those that are seeking a deeper understanding of themselves?
Mm, that's a deep question. Learn how to, well, first you got to learn how to accept the good about yourself as well as the bad about yourself. Um, Once you can accept both sides of you, I feel like then the work can really start. So when you realize why the positive sides of you are positive and why the negative sides of you are negative, you can understand what's at the heart of your positivity and what's at the heart of your negativity. And once you realize what's at the root of everything, then you could start doing that work. It's a long process though, and it does not happen overnight. It's a never ending like thing. It's like you said. So like when you were speaking earlier about that point, it reminded me of the Tom Cruise movie, Edge of Tomorrow. I don't know if you ever seen that movie,
I
but
haven't.
basically the premise of the movie is Tom Cruise is playing this character in this post-apocalyptic world. And as he's going through his day, there's something that happens to where he just dies. And so there's a series of events that continuously happen. It's the same thing happening every single day. So he died the first time. He's like, man, what is this? He was like stuck in this like crazy, like continual time loop every time that he died. So every time that he would die, he learned what he needed to do different in that day so that he could get further and further along. It's just like that with life. Like we sometimes are stuck in this loop because we refuse to look at what the lesson is that's to be learned. So, that's why I say it's a long process. Like, really, the only way for you to keep advancing is for you to get out of your own way. And it's like I said, we're our biggest obstacle, we're our biggest enemy. So it's like once you learn how to get out of your own way and really open yourself up to learn more about yourself, once you have knowledge of self and you have sense of self, then you can start to look at other things outside of yourself and figure out, man, in what way can I do something to make this world that we live in a little bit better? It starts with you, then from you, it goes to your small group, from your small group, then it branches out to the multitude. So the people that have the greatest effect on other people, they've had to dig deep down inside of themselves to really fix themselves first, so that they have the power, they have the strength to give it out to other people. So it really starts with you. You are the core of your existence. Once you master the core, then it's on to the next level. It's like layers in the onion. Like it starts at the middle, but it branches out. And man, it's a vast universe out here. So it takes you in many different directions. So just be open to it.
Yes, F.A.B.L.E the Great. That was like amazing advice, amazing words of wisdom. And you're so right that it does start with self, and we have to be able to master ourselves in order for us to be able to master the situation. And it's a never ending evolution. So it's about really giving yourself grace every single day, just like you ask God to give you grace. It really is like asking God to allow yourself to give yourself grace, right? Because those
Yep.
thoughts that we think every single day, the actions that we take every single day are really affecting the way that we react and we respond to the situations that are being presented to ourselves. And these deaths, that's so funny that you named that movie, because really is, I want to say that I've been through multiple deaths in my life and rebirths.
Mm-hmm.
And it really is like we go to sleep at night and our body regenerates itself through the night. And when we wake up in the morning, we have a new opportunity to create something new. So it's so amazing that we had, hi, little one.
This is my son, RJ. Say
Oh,
hi. Say hi to the people.
you.
Go back. Go back
So
with mama. I'm almost done. I'm almost done. All right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
okay. So any finishing statements that you want to add before we get off the phone?
Um, yeah, I know we've been like talking about really like just me as a person. And one of the things that we were introduced through is music. So I do have an album that I'm getting ready to drop, and the name of the album is called Immortal. So it's the word immortal, but there's a parentheses around the I and the M. And the whole album is what we've been talking about. It's mortality versus immortality. It's about the duality of us being human, but being something higher within our spirit. So it's just the entire album is just really just talking about that and what that means for me. So it's a very personal album. So I produced and arranged the entire album. The album features Neek, Fillmore Green, since 9-6, my buddy Jamal Science. So yeah, it's an incredible body of work. My friend Justin is on the album as well. My wife's singing on it. And my friend Michelle Cruz, she's actually on it as well. So it's very heartfelt, very emotional like album. Yeah, and I'm gonna actually send it to you early so you can check it out. And I think you'll like it. It's the album is an extension of me. So yeah, I just hope everyone like grasps a hold and really like listens to the spirit of the album. So that's what I have coming up.
Dope. Well, I'm so excited to listen to it. I mean, what I have heard that you have on the music platforms right now is really great. And so that you know, I'm always going to share the links to how you could connect with these artists and these human beings across the globe. So below the videos, you'll always have links, especially if there's their musical artistry. I'm going to have samples of the music below the interview so that you'll have an opportunity to connect and to listen to these artists' productions, because it's so important for us to get outside of the perimeter of our box that we live in, especially now that we've been exposed to a global pandemic where we haven't really had the opportunity to go outside of the perimeters that we live in. So I want to create this, or I am creating this platform where you have the ability to connect with people that you would have not had the opportunity to connect with before. In fact, Instagram was what connected me and this human being here. And it's such a beautiful thing because you can use these platforms for positivity and for connection with people that are divinely connected and aligned with a higher purpose that is bigger than just their humanness. That, you know, we all have a voice, we all have a message, we all have a gift, a unique gift that is specific for our own purpose and our own divine calling. And it's really important for us to present that information to the world because we need so much more of that. So I am so grateful for this time that we had the opportunity to connect today, because you taught me some stuff, and you really gave us a lot of words of wisdom that I know is going to be very beneficial for the ones that are going to listen to it either today, tomorrow, next year, 10 years from now. I pray and I hope that you get so much value from these conversations. And with this, we leave you, and have an amazing rest of your day.
Hey,
Blessings.
real quick,
Oh, yeah.
Rebecca. I just want to commend you for your platform, and I appreciate you allowing me to be a part of this. And I just want to encourage you to keep going forward with this, because we need more of this. We need more spaces where creators can come and really just talk about their process. And it's like you said, like you learned something from me and I learned something from you. So just transference of energy is important and it's needed. So just keep going with this platform because it's a great platform.
Yes, thank you so much. I really appreciate that feedback, because I have been getting so much positive feedback from this, and I definitely am going to continue to do it because, like I said, we really need this, especially because last year it was very evident that we are still living in a society that is very separated and segregated. And it's important for us to recognize that we are a part of one body. And even though we look different and we may think differently and we have different perspectives, we're all at the end of the day the same. And we need to accept that from each other. So again, leaving you with so much love and light, and we will see you soon. Blessings.